Hey, everybody, it's Kimberly and Whitney, and we are HypnoPro Accelerator. And this is the very first episode of our brand new podcast. Yay!
We are so excited to be here with you and share your journey. Hypnosis is a passion, but so is marketing, so is sales. And this is a business, first and foremost, unless you're a hobby person, but then you wouldn't be here. So,
That's
looking
right.
forward to sharing this journey with you.
That's right. So, um, quick introductions. I think it would be good for both of us to just do a quick introduction. So, my name's Kimberly Lynne. I have been a hypnotist for 5 years, board certified for three. And I'm actually a part of the board certification committee of the IAHP. I own Lynne Hypnosis, where I help clients locally and online virtually with their goals and help them be their healthiest and happiest people. And now I have this brand new amazing program that Whitney and I are doing together called HypnoPro Accelerator, where we help professional hypnotists with the business of professional hypnosis. And I love hypnosis. It's changed my life. And it's just an unsung hero in the healing modalities. And one of my life goals is to make sure that everybody knows how safe hypnosis is so that they can access the power of hypnosis for their happiest, healthiest lives. That's me. Oh, and I'm in Boise, Idaho. And that's about it. So, yeah. What about you, Whitney?
So, I'm in Houston, Texas, and I'm also a board certified hypnotist, and that's going on 2 years now. And so that's really exciting. And, hypnosis is just the tool in my toolbox that just puts everything together. I've been doing um, facilitating people and making change in their lives for a long time. But when I got the tool for hypnosis, that just really anchored it in, and people seem to skyrocket. And I am so excited and so happy, and it's so gratifying for me when people say, "Wow, you've changed my life." And it happens over and over and over again. So, and I know that that's why all of you are out there as well. But here's the interesting thing about me. Before um, I was a hypnotist, I had life outside of its career was selling to Fortune 100 companies. So I sold to Ford and Chrysler and American Express, and I sold to some hospital systems. And I'm also a certified online business manager. All of that means that for me, just the business aspect of doing the hypnosis business is just something natural and easy and something that's fun for me.
I am so excited to partner with you and all your experience that you have in business. What we have to share, I think, is first of all, just really special. And this podcast and the goal of what we're doing is to help professional hypnotists. Um, Perhaps a lot of women, because that's who we are and that's what our experience. It doesn't mean that men can't come along for the ride, and they're absolutely welcome. And that kind of introduces our topic today, because what we have decided to talk about is, I suppose, maybe the pros and cons and the pitfalls of being a professional woman who is in a helping career, and all the different things that could be factors in affecting marketing and who actually become your clients. I didn't really say that in a very succinct way. What are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are that it's interesting. Hypnosis is a helping profession, and people get into it to help people. And they go into it with a good heart, a full heart, but not necessarily a sense of business. And it's not because they don't. want to. It's just that they're not aware that now you've gotten your business going, you're ready to go, you're ready to see clients for your hypnosis practice. But what does that mean? How do I grow my business? Because you are in business. So how do I grow my business? How do I maintain my business? How do I do anything in business? Everything simple as accounting and keeping your numbers together, to scheduling, to booking, to finding the right client niche, um, which sometimes is not what you think it is. So that's really interesting too. But all aspects of business are things that are really lacking in the hypnosis world, because we're hypnotists and that's what we do. We don't do the business. So what we're trying to do with the HypnoPro Accelerator is to make the business part easy for you too.
Yeah. Fantastic. I agree with you 100%. So we were going to talk about like marketing, and in our Facebook group we've been talking about niching down. And when a lot of women, and like before I move on, I want to just say, as professional hypnotists, I think that in the old days there were many more men in this profession, but like other helping professions, chiropractic, massage therapy, things like that, more and more women are probably surging forward. I think that there's a lot more women that I see training than men, or at least degree equal. And so as women, we have it's different for us. And a lot of women choose to work with only women. And what do you do if men still keep calling? That's been an experience that I've had. And that's been an experience that you've had. And so I thought we could just share those experiences and then talk about the factors that lead into them.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I thought I would be helping primarily women. But I have had, as you were discussing earlier, I've had a good amount of men. I would say like 50% of my practice are men. And these are dynamic men that are just as needing as a change in their life as anybody else, women. And so it's really interesting that they're coming, and I'd like to see more coming.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you market, were you choosing to specifically market to women in your actual words when you would introduce yourself on your website, things like that?
Good question. I did not niche down. I did not market specifically to women. So I marketed to people. Anybody that needed more self-confidence or more self-esteem, or just more increase in focus, and whatever it is. Um, so I was marketing to people without any gender in mind. That may be some of the reason that I'm getting the results that I'm getting.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. When I first started as well, I marketed to everybody. When I would introduce myself to people, I would say I work with all people, men, women, and kids is kind of what I said, which is everybody. And I too noticed that I was getting about 50-50%
Mhm.
male to female clients. That doesn't mean that was all my consultations. I think fewer men perhaps call, but also more men typically follow through and become clients in my experience. And so I ended up with about 50-50. And that at first was just fine. But then I decided personally, I wanted to start niching down. And so it's been for me, even though I still will take everybody, I have been marketing myself as more of a women's hypnotist and women's issues. And I still get about 25 to 30% male clients. It blows my mind. They make it through all the overtly female marketing with the pictures. And they make it through some places where I even say, I'm a women's hypnotist, and I still get them. And so I find that is really interesting. And I think there's some factors that play into that. Um, I was wondering, have you ever had an experience with any gender of a client where um, maybe it wasn't because that their issue wasn't a good fit with hypnosis, but it was more about their perceptions of you and what they brought to the sessions that made them either before maybe you didn't take them, or maybe you found out after that you weren't a good fit because of how they viewed you?
That's a great question, and a lot of that I clear up in the consultation. So when I'm talking with them on the phone, I'm asking them, "What is it you're looking for?" And what would you like to change? What have you tried before that's worked? What hasn't worked? Why now? Why are you doing hypnosis now? And I also talk a little bit about my process, and I find that the ones that I'm just not a good match with kind of weed themselves out in that we just keep on talking, and they say, well, I don't have time to dedicate to doing the work necessary, then I'm not the person for you. Or sometimes they may just have an issue that I'm just not the right fit for.
Right.
And so we just talk about that and just say, hey, I'm not the right fit, but I do have the names of people that would be a good fit for them. So I do refer them on. But the
Nice.
consultation is key for sure.
I'm wondering, are there any when you're talking to somebody in a consultation, red flags that you can notice about people, men or women, that aren't a good fit for you?
So for me personally, when I'm talking with a client and they're talking about their life and how they have 85,000 things to do at one time and they never have time to do anything, then I ask them a very pointed question. So, will you have time to dedicate to yourself and this practice of hypnosis? Because I do ask you to do certain things. And my clients that have had fabulous success have all followed my instructions. So the ones that can do the homework and do what I ask them to do, they have to spend the time. So if time is a limiting factor for them and they don't seem to be able to put boundaries around their time, that's something that's just not going to work. And the other thing that is interesting too is I say, okay, so why do you want to do hypnosis? And they say, because my wife, husband, spouse, brother, mother says I should do hypnosis or I should change this thing. So instead of them saying, I really want to change this thing because I'm going to create a whole new life and my life's going to be transformed over and over and over, and I'm really excited about it. They're like, no, my wife said I had to come in. So I'm here and I'm going to do this for her. People that don't want to change, don't come. And you can get that from the consultation.
Yeah. You are making me think of the word intrinsically motivated. They have an internal reason, excuse me. They have an internal reason that they want to change, not an external one. So they're not there because of an outside force. They're there because of an inside force. And so that I definitely hear what you're saying for sure. For sure. So, I kind of want to answer and comment on my own question. I also do consultations, and it is key in making sure that I get the kind of clientele that, number one, I know I can help, right? My practice within my
Exactly.
scope, but also that I get the kind of clientele that I know are going to be really happy and pleased with me, because my perspective is that I'm not for everyone and not everyone's for me. So if I'm not turning some people down, I'm not I'm not understanding who I am, or I'm not understanding who they are well enough, and I need to do some more deeper work. And that was my I think that was my biggest mistake when I first got started, is that I just took basically everyone. I did a consultation so I could make sure that their issue was a good fit. But other than that, I did not really screen very well. And I had I don't know, probably 5 to 7 clients in that first year and a half to 2 years, um, where I just was not able to really get them very good results. And it had a lot to do with so many different factors. It had to do with they wouldn't follow my instructions because they didn't really want to do the homework. I hadn't established myself strong enough in the beginning, requiring that kind of homework, that our work that I do and that you do, and that many of the hypnotists that are watching this probably do. I also noticed that sometimes truly they really kind of thought of hypnosis as magical. And I didn't do a very good job of explaining how it's easier, much, much easier, but still, it's not zero effort with hypnosis. You still have to put in effort, and that's part of what we talk about with the homework. And lastly, I think philosophically or ideologically, I think sometimes um, it's okay to churn people away and say, I'm just not a good fit and refer them out. People who, see the world in a different way. It's very hard to help people who aren't, who believe that they can't change, who believe that no matter, even though they're calling the hypnotist, right? And they're really they want change, they're miserable, they are not willing to. I think the hardest thing to identify in a consultation, and it's coming to me now, so I'm going to say it clearly this time. The hardest thing to, I think, identify in a consultation is the person who says they want change, but really deep inside is may not be able to. And part of getting them to commit to the homework is that's part of it. And if you can get someone to commit to doing their homework, I think that you have a person that's much more likely to believe that they can change and grow. If they just want to show up and have you talk at them, there's too much of that, like you do all the work and it's not really my responsibility. And yeah, I think that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, that was a great word, responsibility, because everyone is responsible for their own lives, their own choices, and their own things to do. And I can coach them and facilitate them, but they have to step through the door. They have to do the work. They have to do the things. It's their responsibility. And if they don't take responsibility for it, then they can blame you or their wife or their um, sister or their brother or mother for their failure, and then they don't have to own it. And so
Yeah.
that kind of person, it's kind of convoluted, but that kind of person's not going to be successful with hypnosis.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm going to share a kind of funny story of a person who did not get good results with me. He came into me somewhere in my second year of hypnosis. So I'd only been a hypnotist probably about 14, 16 months. And I was still taking most everybody. And he was a very nice person. And so I really didn't see the red flags ahead of time with this person because he was really good at, presenting himself. And he was very frustrated in his life and he really wanted to move forward. And his biggest frustration was with his wife. And, thinking back, I don't even know if I had done a very good job of identifying really what the change he wanted to make. I think he just wanted to be more productive. And he was so, this should have been the red flag. He felt like his wife was his problem. And so what I learned from this person, and I'm going to share the story in a minute. What I learned from this person is when people come in and they share in consultations, it doesn't matter what gender they are, that their marriages aren't great. If they're upfront enough about that at the time, I tell them right away, I cannot change your marriage. I can't change your spouse. I can only help you change. So if you want me to make your marriage better, that's not possible. That other person is responsible for their own change. And that has really helped. But I didn't see that at the time. And so I took this gentleman in and I was doing work and we were doing some forgiveness work. And it came to the time for him to start talking about the person he was most angry with. and it was his wife. And it was because every night, all she ever wanted was just a back rub, just a back rub. And he was so upset about it. That was the thing that hurt him the most in his entire life, that his wife wanted a back rub and that she, I don't know, there's probably a lot more there that we didn't get into. I had done a lot of deep work with this person and he'd really liked the work. In that moment, he still wanted his wife to change. He wanted her to stop being needy. He wanted her to stop asking too much of him. And he wasn't willing to really address that he needed to change and that really what she was asking wasn't that unfair at all. Unless there was more, which we never got into because after that session, it just didn't go well and he never came back. And so I just gave him, I think, a little bit of his money back that he never used and I sent him on his way. And if you ever have a client like that, just give them all their money back and it'll be like they never came in and you can learn from it. And so one of the things I just decided to learn was that I really needed people to identify that they are the ones that are in my hypnosis chair and they are the ones that
Right.
need to do the changing.
Right. That you brought up an interesting story. I have a opposite side of the coin story. I have a a woman client that came in, and she and her husband were newly married and also new parents, and we had been doing a lot of work together. And key here is she took responsibility for her own feelings. She took responsibility for her own actions and her own behaviors. And so as we were doing the work together, she had they had fights all the time, and one of the fights were about she was trying to control him, and all of that. So and he didn't want to be controlled because he's his own man and leave me
Mm.
alone. I'm grown up, that kind of thing. So after doing the work together, she felt the anger coming up in her and she's like, this is unfair. And then she saw the anger coming up in her husband and she's like, wait a minute, he's angry. So he's feeling like something's unfair. So they had a conversation. So what do you think is unfair? And he said, well, I think it's unfair. You're trying to control me when I just want to go out and have a drink with my friends while you're sleeping. And she goes, oh, I'm not trying to control you. I am completely 100% down with you going with your friends. What is scary to me is when I wake up at night and I don't know where you are, I get scared. And so that's what I'm trying to do is just figure out if you're safe and where you are in case of emergency. I just need to know where you are. And he's like, oh, well, that's not unreasonable. So all of a sudden the conversations change, right? When the client is taking responsibility, she's like, wait a minute, he's angry. What is that anger about? I'm angry. What is that anger about? And then the whole dynamic changes and their whole interactions change. Now they're using the tools that she learned in hypnosis to create a better marriage for them and their son. So it's fabulous. When you take responsibility, you can do a lot.
You're exactly right. Yeah, I love that. That's a great story. Um, I do tell my clients a lot, like, as you learn about yourself, you get to learn about other people too. It'll help you understand other people more.
Yeah.
And that's a great example of that. So awesome. What were you going to say?
I was saying that I have a lot of for clients, I have a lot of therapists, a lot of doctors, and all of them look at this work and go, wow, I should be this should be taught. My clients should have this information. When you get a new baby, you should have this because that tells you all about what's going on with the feelings. You don't have to tamp them down. And imagine if we had a whole generation of people that didn't tamp down their emotions and just dealt with things as they came up,
Mhm.
that we have to find a new job.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. We could find one. We could still help. But yeah,
Yeah.
everybody, I do say this a lot to people. Everybody needs to go through this process. Everybody. It doesn't matter whether you think you have big T trauma, little T trauma, or no trauma. Everybody needs to go through what we do. I believe in it that much. But let's get back to
Marketing.
marketing consultations. When you are marketing and maybe the person that you're marketing to isn't calling, but somebody else is. I kind of shared that I've been niching down and I still get calls. Um, a certain kind of man still makes it through all the hurdles. And so, my thoughts on that are that's great. That's fine. If you are marketing towards a certain kind of person, I think actually it's less about gender and more about outlook and attitude and belief systems. And I think that's really what makes the best client when you are on the same, um, you have the same paradigms or similar
Yeah.
enough to work together. Um, and so I think it really has less to do about gender, but I do think it's okay to market to just one gender and just say you're just a women's hypnotist or just a man's hypnotist. Because I still think that you'll still get just to get quite a significant number of the opposite gender. If you're good at all, you'll still get those good referrals. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you just brought up something that I'm like, okay, so I do a lot of marketing to women and I do have a lot of men clients. And a lot of times, one of the times, the wife bought the husband a session for Valentine's Day, or the wife hears about it and says, "Hey, honey, you're not sleeping," or "Hey, honey, how would this be with your stress relief?" And so, a lot of times, the men are coming to me through the woman, the female connection. So,
Yeah.
that's true too.
Yeah. Yeah. I figure if a guy can get through all the hurdles and still want to work with me, it's a good fit. And so far, um, that has worked. I will say that taking good class or some training on doing a really thorough consultation really helps. Um, and one last piece of advice that I've heard recently and that I am really taking to heart. It is really hard for us, especially when we're first starting to trust our instincts and our intuition
Mhm.
because we just don't have a lot of data. And so, as we've heard a lot of times, confidence comes from doing. So, the more we've done something, the more confident we become.
Mhm.
But we should still trust that intuition deep inside. Unless something feels like it's a 100% yes, I think it should be 100% no. And the more I listen, and I'm talking about that gut feeling, the more I
Mhm.
listen to that feeling and the more I honor it, the better choices I make. Because I think sometimes we can ignore the emotions that we're having about a certain situation or a person or a consultation because on paper we haven't been able to figure out cognitively what it is. But our subconscious, we know that the subconscious detects something, makes us feel something, and then we have a behavior. We're not always conscious of it. So listening to that feeling, even if we can't put it into words quite yet, is a is pretty. I think it's a good way to go. Listen to that feeling. If someone just feels wrong or off, and you're not 100% sure, then it's 100% no.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. I call that my spidey sense, right? Like you've had it all your life. You know, oh, I should stay away from this person. I should not do this. You know what it is. And what I want to tell the new hypnotists out there is, as Kimberly was saying, it's okay to turn someone away because you know what? The right people are going to find you. So don't look at it as a loss of any kind. Just look at it as a learning. And yep, there are people out there for everybody, and there are people out there that are not for you. And so it's okay to find one that's not for you and pass, because
Yeah.
the ones that are there for you will absolutely come.
Yep, I agree with that 100%. Don't feel bad about passing, because you'll probably brew the day that you decided to overlook your intuition and take that client. And you know what? If you've done that, like I've done many times, don't be too hard on yourself. We learn through challenges, and so one of the things. Um, Another mentor of mine, when I was asking a question similar to this, like, I just don't know what I could have done differently or how I could have known better. And the truth is that you don't always know better. You sometimes have to make the mistakes so you can understand on a deeper level, and that's okay. And to not be harsh or judgmental to yourself, give yourself some grace, and recognize it as a learning and growing opportunity. I call it getting a better picker. So like you get a better sniffer, you get
Yeah.
better at sniffing out good clients every time you have one that didn't work out so well. It is honestly the fastest way. So you're honestly not going to get good at it until you've made a few mistakes.
Yeah. And just have a sense of humor about it too, because I laugh. I'm like, oh, I've had a couple that are just a really good match. Oops. My dog has busted in the door.
That's okay.
I've had some that are not a good match too, and I just laugh. I'm like, well, note to self: someone that does this is not a good match for you. Good to know.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, getting a better sniffer, dialing down even more. Okay, now I recognize those signs, and that's not going to happen again. It's funny. You don't need to be hard on yourself. You
Yeah.
you're just learning and growing. That's it.
Yep. Yep. Awesome. Well, I think that's a good place to end for our very first episode. What do you think?
I think that's fabulous, talking about the consultation and niching down. And we just want to see more and more of you. So like our channel and follow and all the things.
Like and subscribe. You can visit our website, HypnoProAccelerator.com, to find out more about what we offer. We do Facebook group and we have monthly training, and we would love to see you there. The Facebook group is free. Please reach out to us with any questions, and we'll see you soon for the next episode of our HypnoPro Accelerator podcast.
Yeah, comment if you have anything you want us to talk about, because we want to talk about what you want to hear. So let us know and we'll put it on the list.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. Awesome. Bye.